I got a whole bunch of guys who didn't play, who were very, upset because they wanted to get burned, but it didn't inhibit our relationship.
This is your boy Juice on the mic, and on this episode of Hoops&Holla, it is titled Bringing It All Together with Coach Bill Raynor. Coach Bill Raynor comes to this episode with a ton of experience coaching basketball, as he was an assistant at Brown University, Harvard University, a head coach at Holy Cross. He played at Dartmouth University, but he found his most success as a coach at MassBay Community College, a JUCO school up in Massachusetts, where I played for him for a short stint. And during his time at MassBay, he found a ton of success as he just built a great culture. And he talks about bringing everything together. Ton of challenges he had to overcome. Certain years he'll have, a handful of guys, fail first semester. In second semester, they can't return. So now he only has 5 players, and different roles are being constructed now. So not just the year-to-year challenge, but semester-by-semester challenge. But with him walking into a situation like that, he talks about implementing academic programs for his players, student athletes, so they can find academic success. He talks about building a staff. He talks about building trust with the players and players trusting him, building relationships with players during their time there and after, building a relationship with players that didn't just score 20 points for him, players who never seen the floor and still, talking to him to this day. Just really great at building relationships, great communication skills by Bill Raynor that he has, and no wonder why he found a ton of success at MassBay Community College. He's in the New England Hall of Fame for a coach and for being a player. He's a real legend in the New England area, Boston, Massachusetts, where he made his mark as a player and then as a coach as well. So this episode, bringing it all together, really speaks about just building a culture and building your staff, and also not doing it on your own, understanding that it takes more than one person. He was real gracious about giving flowers to some of his assistants and some of the players that played for him. So check out this episode. It's your boy Juice on the mic, Hoops&Holla. And again, this episode is titled Bringing It All Together with Coach Bill Raynor. Coach Bill Raynor, you sit in front of me with 30 years of experience, 30 plus years of experience of coaching, 12 years at MassBay Community College. That's where me and you met. 5 years at Holy Cross, where you were the head coach for 5 years, assistant at both Brown and Harvard. You was a player at Dartmouth, and didn't you hold a record with an assist or points at one point?
I'm sorry?
I said, didn't you hold the record of assist or points at Dartmouth at one point?
No. But I ended my playing career as the 9th all-time leading scorer at Dartmouth, and I was 3 assists shy of the record.
There you go. So you had a fantastic playing career along with a lengthy coaching career, and then you're also a Hall of Famer. You're part of the New England Hall of Fame, correct?
Yeah, I'm fortunate to have been in a couple of Hall of Fames, but I was inducted into my high school Hall of Fame, my Brown University Hall of Fame, and the New England Basketball Hall of Fame. So I have a few different, was fortunate enough to be selected into a few different Hall of Fames.
Let's talk about the being inducted into the New England Hall of Fame. What's kind of the criteria of that? Who else is in that kind of in that mode of Hall of Famers in New England? 'Cause, I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. Being a Hall of Famer, it doesn't matter in what aspect. That's big time stuff.
Yeah, quite honestly, I'm not on that committee or whatever. So I guess they have varying degrees of for criteria into it. But for the most part, most of the people you would probably think of in terms of great players to come out of New England were inducted into the New England Basketball Hall of Fame. So there's a wide variety of people, and I think I went in as a player and a coach. So
Gotcha.
I went in under two categories.
For sure. So like I mentioned, lengthy coaching resume that you have: 12 years at MassBay, 5 years at Holy Cross, assistant at Brown and Harvard, and then also the playing career to match that. Then you also founded BABC, or one of the founders of the BABC, which is a historic, great AAU program. So to talk about how that came about and your role into initiating that.
Well, I'm from Roxbury, and when I moved out to Cambridge, the founder of the BABC, Leo Papio, happened to be across the street from me, and we had known each other somewhat, but we really got to become friendly. And he was he had asked me if I would wanted to be a part of the program, and I only did it for 1 year, but it was a heck of a year. We had Patrick Ewing was one of the players on that team. Carl Hobbs, Martin Clark. We had a really good team the year I was there.
Not for sure. How would you describe or summarize, I would say, how would you summarize your coaching experience? You coached at various levels, different places. There's a difference between coaching the Ivy Leagues and like Holy Cross, for example. They're both Division I programs, but there's a difference in coaching that. You've been an assistant coach, you've been a head coach. Just summarize your coaching experiences.
I mean, I started coaching in 1975, which was a couple of years before you were born, and I coached in high school
Over a year before my mom was born, actually.
I coached in high school for a couple of years. I coached a year at Catholic Memorial. Then I went out to Lynn and was coached a year at St. Mary's Lynn before I moved on to Harvard. But having said all that, I mean, coaching has been a joy. It's been what I've done in terms of profession for all these years. The differences in whether it's high school or college or Division I, Division II, Division III is the skills and ability of the players that you coach. It's not so much the game in the game. The game is the game, regardless of whether you're coaching, whatever level you're coaching, but the abilities of your players are different. So therefore you can do different things based upon the talent level that you have. And I found each level to be equally as rewarding. There was, coaching at MassBay, for example. I mean, that's actually one of the highlights of my coaching career. I think I just enjoyed coaching there, mostly because those kids really love the game. And there's a difference between liking the game and loving the game. And these guys that I had at MassBay, I mean, they'd walk 10 miles to get to a gym to play. They were going to play. And sometimes just because you're bigger, stronger, faster, and you might have an affinity or an ability, doesn't necessarily mean that you love it. You might be playing for other reasons. And again, so that's when you find guys that really love to go out and compete regardless of their circumstances, that you couldn't ask for more than that.
No, for sure. I actually wanted to touch on that because you were at MassBay for 12 years regarding being a coach. and you found a lot of success there. I mean, multiple championships, regardless if it was like regional. Y'all made a far in like, national championships before. Just talk about how that, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but again, MassBay it's a JUCO school, but it's not what people would think, right? It's not like one of those JUCO schools that you have a dorm and all the kids are like living there and you're really recruiting them on there. It's kind of like high school kind of in a way that you kind of get what you get and you have to make shifts of what you got for the most part. And kids are commuting to go to the practice, which is not at the main school. They have to travel to Framingham, which is not far, but it's still off from the main campus. So just talk about how did you find so much success at MassBay? And I mean, you talked about how you enjoyed it, but talk about how you found so much success at MassBay, though the circumstances weren't as ideal as you coaching at Holy Cross, a Division I school, and all these resources. I know you mentioned the players loving the game, but I know there has to be something more that why you found so much success and you stayed there for a long time.
Well, I had good players. I mean, I don't care. I don't care how good of a coach you are, how well versed you are in strategies and this, that, and the other. If you don't have good players, you're not going to win. And so I was fortunate enough to. We had a nice string of run, I guess you'd say, of uh, players who made the decision to come to MassBay and play for us. But I think as you have success, word starts to get around, and as kids are graduating from high school, if they're not moving on to a 4-year school and they need a 2-year, they look around, they go, hey, they're doing something special up at MassBay. Maybe I want to be a part of that. And so I think the success was a big factor in us. And then it kind of just becomes like self-perpetuating, once you get that first group going, and now the second crew comes in and they're winning, and then it seems to attract other good players. I was fortunate enough to have Hakeem Johnson and Kari and some other people on staff there who were very good at identifying kids coming out looking for a place to play and recruiting guys to come play at MassBay. So it was a combination, of things. I tell people all the time, I mean, nothing in the world that anybody accomplishes is done by themselves.
Sure.
It's a combination of things. And, I remember 1 year I got a Coach of the Year award, which is very nice. I gave it to one of my assistant coaches because of the work that he had done. And again, we win games and people want to heap praise on the coach, but hey, if we didn't have, player X, Y, Z, but whoever, we wouldn't have had the success. So it's a combination of things coming together. You need talent, and on top of talent, and then the talent. And I used to tell the guys this all the time. You should thank them at the end of every season for allowing me to coach them. Not everybody allows themselves to be coached. Not everybody's coachable.
Sure.
And so I was very fortunate that guys bought into what I was selling, that I got people to buy into the quote unquote team concept and to make sacrifices and to sometimes, I had one player, his first year, he was my 5-man. His second year, he was my point guard. And personnel changes determines how you use people and where they need to be used. But if he had a push back on me in any regard, it wouldn't have worked. So I'm very thankful that guys were open enough to accept the coaching that we were giving them.
No, for sure. And it's crazy. All the great coaches I've encountered or, heard them speak, regardless of like a Coach K or Calipari or just other coaches that I know, they always give credit to the players and their assistants because they And I feel like it's something, after, a while of coaching, you realize like you cannot do this without the players. Um, you can have a good record one year, then the next year you have a few injuries of those good players and the record's totally different. Um, but how did you see yourself when you was in the coaching seat? How did you view your role? Like, what did you feel like your role actually was as a coach? Because like you said, it's all about the players for the most part, and then also the work your assistants are putting in. But what did you see your role as being in the head coaching seat?
Well, it's one of the great, things about coaching. Every year it's a different team. Even if you have the same players returning, they're different. They're a year older. They've had a year different experiences. They're coming back. They got different, maybe they worked on their game and they improved this, they improved that, or this and the other. So they're not the same player they were the year before. And then, so you got to take all the individual talent and then you got to look at what's your overall talent. And at the end, when I say at the end, the last part of the last, I don't know, 5, 10 years of my coaching, I used to have like every year you have a goal. We want to, everybody wants to win championship, but we want to win X amount of games and we want to come in for this, that, and the other. And I stopped having those types of goals. And I would tell the guys, our goal is to become the best team that we can become. So every day we need to improve so that we can reach whatever this particular group's potential is. And if we are able to do that, the wins are going to come, the championships are going to come. If we can maximize our talents and abilities. And so every year, that's the key. How do you take a group, one, get them to be a group? Because as you say, every year you got guys coming in from different, sometimes they know each other, sometimes they don't, or half the team knows each other. So you don't want cliques. You don't want, how do you orchestrate, if you will, or get guys to buy in that this is our team? And that, my friend, is very difficult and very challenging. And the basketball season runs from October, November, December, January, February. Uh, it's a long time, and a lot of different things happen, and a lot of ups and downs, and you lose guys, whether it's through academic lack of performance academically, whether it's some type of personal reason, whatever. And so sometimes from one semester to the next semester, you've got a different team. So you're working on first semester, you got this group going, and then you lose 3 of those guys going into the second semester. You got to become a completely different team. So now you're almost going through the process again of bringing everybody together, and then talk about guys roles. The role first semester may have been XYZ, but because of defections or whatever, role second semester you might need to be doing this. So again, and that's also, those are all challenges, all challenges, and that's what I enjoy. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed that within itself is a competition. Aside from the physical competition of games, it's the competition of, how do I get the best out of this guy? How do I get the best out of how do I get the best out of a person individually, and how do I get the best out of the group collectively? And again, that is an annual challenge, and then towards the end, I'd have to, and I would tell the team this. I never knew. I said I have to take the summer because you, and most coaches I would put in the same boat. You put everything that you have into it, and I would have to ask myself that question at the end of every season. Do I have the energy, the enthusiasm, and the interest to go through that again? And if the answer was yes, okay, let's roll it up again and let's see what we do. And it came a point where no, I didn't have it. I did not have that same type of get up and go, and and I know, because I know what it takes to do the job.
Now, I do want to touch on you because after MassBay, you retired, and I put the quotes because you retired
Well,
for
I
a year.
retired from coaching.
Yeah, for coaching. Yeah, you retired from coaching. Then the next year, you told me, I remember I was in your office, and you was like, "I got the itch again. I just got to get to coaching again." Then you
Yeah.
started coaching again.
So I was done at MassBay,
Yeah.
and there were other things at MassBay that I wanted to accomplish in terms of being a larger voice in the school itself and how the school operated. And I was given that opportunity. The president made me his special assistant and the chief diversity officer. So I got a chance to go into a whole wide variety of areas, which I would not have been able to do as the coach or athletic director. And but at the same time, the Framingham State head coaching position opened up, and I always thought they were a sleeping giant, and I could never understand why they didn't have success or more success than they had, and thought that I might be able to do that. I also had a little bit of health situation, so uh, which affected my coaching. And so and ultimately that's, even after going to Framingham State, ultimately that's why I stepped away.
For sure. I previously you mentioned how you have to go and overcome so many challenges as a coach. What was the biggest challenge you had to overcome as a coach with your team, and y'all actually came up on top of that very difficult task? Just give an example throughout all your time coaching, regardless if it was assistant, high school, at the JUCO, MassBay, anything.
Um well the I mean, every year's challenge. And I don't remember successes.
Mhm.
I remember failures. And when I look back, there are certain teams that I thought were talented enough to have won a championship that didn't. And why wasn't I able to get the group? I had teams that didn't buy in. Why wasn't I able to do that? I had some guys that were really talented, but I couldn't get them to perform the way I needed them to perform. Failure. So I mean, those are the things I remember more than cutting down the nets, and other times that I was unable to um, effectively take advantage of the personnel or situation that we had in a given year, and that didn't come out. That didn't reach, that didn't reach its potential. So as I said earlier, the goal is every year, can we maximize the potential of the group? And when that doesn't happen, I'm the head coach, right? Supposed to be the leader of this ship. I didn't get the job done. And those are the things I remember more.
For sure. Let's talk about kind of your coaching style. I remember one time at practice, we were scrimmaging, and this is like probably first practice, second practice, early in the season, early season. We haven't played a game yet, and we're scrimmaging, and we're like, wrestling for the ball, diving for the ball. We're legit on the floor, like just two players on the floor, like having the ball, like tussling out, and like everyone else is around or whatever. And then like they get up and they get each other's face, and the whole time you're just like there, like hand across, like hand folded and you didn't say nothing. You kind of let us figure it out. And I feel like that kind of goes to your coaching style. You're not an overcoacher. You know, there's some coaches that people like to say they overcoach. They're always in the mix. I don't think in that situation, if you would have stepped in, you'd have been considered overcoaching. But you kind of let the players figure it out, or you kind of just read the room. You let a moment happen so you can see, all right, how is this player reacting? How is this player reacting? Because that kind of ends up being the testament of their personality. But just talk about your coaching style in general, because I remember that moment vividly and it sticks to me to this day. And I was just like, wow,
Well,
Bill.
practice, to be honest, practice is the most, and I think most coaches will tell you the same thing. That's the best. I mean, practice is so much better. I mean, that's what you every day, man. That's what you do every day. And you do that what to prepare for games. Well, you only play, let's say in a given season, you play 30 games,
Mhm.
right? So for 30 games, you have probably had what, 120, 150 practices.
Right.
So you practice many more days than you actually tee it up for competitions. And during that time is when that's when you test guys. That's when you test. That's when you see who will, who won't will, who's gonna back down, who's not gonna back down, what type, because you need to know that going into the competition.
Right.
And so uh you test your group, and and I'm not playing. I used to tell her, I said, I'm not on the floor. You're on the floor. You're the one playing. So you might see something I don't see. So you need to express that. Especially, I used to hate when I yelled at people and it bothered them. Or they would turn and be looking at me all the time. And if they made a mistake, then something's wrong. And I used to tell them all the time, are you on the floor? So that forget it. I said, hey, listen, man, if I yell at you, here's what I want you to do. Just look at me, nod your head, and then go on your play. Play. Go on, do your thing, man. And if it and if it's to the point where I don't like it, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take you out of the damn game. So while you're on the floor, do your thing. And so I hope that we some guys get it twisted. They think, you put some kind of structure in there. Oh, you're taking my game away. No, we're not trying to take your game away, man. But your game has to fit in with the other four people on the floor. So we
Sure.
have some type of structure to try to take advantage of that. And some guys struggle with that. You ever go to like before the season starts, you have open gym. And I used to go in and I watch open gym, and you see certain guys, you go, whoa, man, look at that cat. He's run, he jump, he dunk, he can do this, he can do that, blah, 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 blah. Then you go to practice, cat can't do nothing because he can't fit in. He hasn't figured that out. So that's where the coaching comes in. I got to help him try to figure that out. And again, sometimes I was successful at it, and then those times I failed, those bothered me because, interesting enough, I had a cat call me up, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago. And he was extremely talented guy, and we won a championship, but he didn't play.
Oh, wow.
And he called me a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh shit, this guy's gonna. And he's like, Coach, I was so mad at you, and you didn't play me, and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. He said, but you know what? Now I'm looking back on it, and I'm remembering all the things that we talked about. You said, and I'm like, damn, he was right, and that made me feel great.
Oh, wow.
That made me feel great.
Wow.
And another thing that makes me feel good is players like that. I got a whole bunch of guys who didn't play, who were very, upset because they wanted to get burned, but it didn't inhibit our relationship. So we still maintain, we were still, so the fabric, and again, that's part of putting the team together, is getting to know your guys. And that's just not from a basketball standpoint, that's from a life perspective.
No, for sure. And again, perfect segue, because I actually want to talk about your relationship with your players. I've been around a lot of coaches, high school, AAU coaches, all across the board. And I haven't seen a coach be there more for their players than you, and to build a relationship with their players more than you. We can look at, me and your relationship, for example. I barely played for you. But me and you, we still communicate, we still talk. We have a close relationship. Just talk about building relationships with your players and how important that is, and also being there for your players. Again, I haven't seen a coach be there more for their players more than you, in different aspects outside of the court. Most of it is outside the court. So just talk about that.
Well, one is, and see, to me, and we use the nomenclature, we use the word coach, which is, when most people, I was at some place I walked into a church yesterday, and some woman, coach, what are you doing? Coach, and she knew me from MassBay, but I can say now, because she ain't around, who are you? I don't even know who she was, but anyway, but to me, it's not a coach. You're an educator. I mean, the most important thing for me is, I was talking about getting the best out of people. That's beyond the basketball. Yeah, I want to get the best out of you athletically, but I want to get the best out of who you are, man. And sometimes, and don't have your whole identity wrapped up into putting the ball in the basket. Because one, very few can do it for a living. And two, even those that do it for a living, they're what, 35, 36, and hopefully you're going to live a much longer life than that. So, so it was very important for me to treat each person as a person, get to know the person, and care for the person. I care for the person, and show them that you care. And, as you say, life can come at you pretty fast sometimes. And you need, just as I said, no one, you don't achieve anything without the help of other people.
Sure.
And the same thing goes from personal standpoint. There are times when you're hurting. There are times when you're in pain. There's a time when you lose a loved one. There's a time when you're going through maybe some academic difficulty. There's a time when maybe your relationship. There's so many different aspects of it. And a lot of us suffer in silence. And we don't share that with somebody, because many of us have trust issues, or you've trusted somebody in the past and they crushed you, so you feel reluctant to trust somebody else, and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And so my way that I operate is, I'm going to be me. I'm going to show you who I am, and I want you to show me who you are. And in the process, we develop a relationship. And when you develop a pretty tight relationship, then you have those types of exchanges, and you can move beyond, hopefully, whether you played or you didn't play, and even the guys that didn't play, I say, you know what, man? If at the end of this whole thing, the worst thing you can say about me is that mother didn't play me, I say, I can live with that. I can live. If that's the worst thing I ever do to you, I can live with that.
No, for sure. And you mentioned it's not about being a coach, it's about being an educator. We was on the phone a few weeks ago, and I was like, I didn't know you needed a degree to be a high school coach. And now I get it though, because it's like you're educating. You're not just drawing up plays and X and O's. Like, no, you're literally educating young
Right.
men. Yes, it's
Right.
not in the
Well, let
classroom,
me
but
tell you a story. When I first took the job at MassBay in January of 2005, I believe it was.
Mhm,
So I go, and I wasn't coaching. I was the athletic director. I took the job as the athletic director. They had a basketball coach. But
mhm,
I looked at the team picture, and there was like, I don't know, about 15 guys in team picture. So second semester, so I took the job. It was second semester. The picture was taken first semester. I go to the game. They got 5 guys on the floor. Nobody on the bench.
yeah.
And I'm like, what's up, man? There was 15 guys, and why is there only 5? Oh, they all flunked off. So that summer, the coach had a heart condition, so he wasn't able to continue to coach. So I had to find a coach, and long story short, I said I'll coach the team. And but one of my first goals was that this can't happen again. We can't. So I put a lot of work into monitoring our student athletes, monitoring their grades, making sure that they were going to class, making sure that they had tutors available to them if they needed it, um, doing follow up with faculty, and we were able to turn that situation around. I think that's one of my greatest accomplishments. If I was going to pat myself on the back, was that yeah, we would lose maybe 1 or 2 guys, but we were, we were on top of them, because at the end of the day, why are you here? You're here to get your either degree or certificate, or put yourself in a position to transfer.
Right.
And if at the end of you exhausting your eligibility, you weren't in position to do that, then we aren't doing our job. And so that is part of the educator. It's part of helping you understand your, or I say, you know what, maybe I because I started doing sending out progress reports. So if I found out you weren't getting the job done, or you were behind, or you weren't going to class, I'd say, maybe you need to take a couple-week break
Mhm.
until I can get a better report on you, because the basketball is secondary to your education, to your growth, to your development, and so in the process of that, again, you have some tough conversations, you have some hard conversations, but you also, I think, when somebody recognizes that somebody else really cares about them, and I try to be as honest as possible. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what I think, what my truth is, and so you won't have to guess, and that I ain't gonna be BSing you, and I think that's where some coaches go awry, because kids can tell the difference between if somebody's blowing smoke up their butt or not,
Mhm.
if somebody's real or not, if somebody's fake or not. So I would like to think that my players, or the people that had the opportunity to interact with me, said, hey, whether they agree with me or not, the cat's real, and I think that served me well over the years.
No, absolutely. I remember a conversation me and you had. I just acquired an internship with WBZ, CBS, and I called you. I was like, I got an opportunity, but it's gonna conflict with the basketball season. You told me to think about it, but you was like, yo, like go for it. Like basketball is basketball, but that's like an opportunity that could propel you. And we had that conversation over the phone. And yeah, so that just attests to you just being honest and also caring about things outside of basketball. Because something like that was very important to just my growth as a person, and also again, something academically, 'cause I got credit for it, and then also, for my career and stuff I'm pursuing. Um, so you're not coaching anymore, but your last time was at Framingham State. What are you doing now to get back to the game? Because I know you love the game so much. You've been around the game for such a long time. How are you giving back to the game now?
Well, I have an 8-year-old nephew that I'm working out twice a week.
Okay.
I served like as a kind of a consultant to a college team. I'm actually in at Worcester State last year, and they ended up winning championship. I had nothing to do with that. But this time, the coach from MIT called me
Okay.
at the beginning of the year, said, "Billy, I'd like you to come by, watch us practice, make notes, tell us what you think, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong." I just did a Black coaches clinic for youth coaches in the Boston area, and we had a bunch of speakers come in to talk about whether it was offense, defense, or just the social emotional learning aspects of dealing with young people. So I'm still involved in the game to that extent, and and hopefully I always will be.
What do you see the difference? Because you mentioned something important about the social emotional aspect with young players now, and you just stopped coaching not too long ago, a few years ago. What do you see the difference in the kids now playing basketball? Like, what's just the difference that you see in this day and age when it comes to um, athletes in general, but specifically basketball?
Yeah, the game's changed a lot, especially with social media and what's important, and we track the stats and the analytics and all these types of things, which to me are not what, like, basketball is an educational tool, teaches you about a lot, so many different things: commitment, winning, losing, blah 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 blah. I could go on and on and on. And but you have so many different people in their ears now because they with AAU basketball and what they should be doing, what they could be, parents and overzealous parents and so on and so forth, that sometimes I think the athlete loses their focus. To me, and again, it goes back to love versus like, or love versus ability. I mean, do you love to play? Do you love the game? Everybody's got a personal trainer and they're working. I never had a goddamn trainer. We just played. We went to the park and we played. Like, to me, that's players don't play enough. They work out. They got somebody showing them how to do all this different stuff, but they're not playing.
Right.
And so I think that's why and the 3-point shot has screwed the game up, in my opinion. Now, as a matter of fact, a coaching friend of mine called me yesterday. He said, "Billy, I wish they would make every shot a 3-pointer. I mean, every shot worth 3 points."
Mm.
And the more I thought about that, I said, wow, you know what that would do? That would bring post players back into play. That would bring the mid-range game back into. That would bring movement and player movement and ball movement back into the game. I thought it was a great, great, great idea. Probably will never happen. They'll probably move the line out further and give you 4 points or something,
Right.
and there'll be more analytics involved. But that's what I see today. And I watch games, and to be honest with you, like an NBA in particular, sometimes it's hard to watch.
Mm.
Tremendously talented guys, but the game itself is hard to watch. Hard to watch. The Celtics took I had a game the other day that took 45 threes. Come on.
Right. The nuances are lacking, and it's great that you mentioned that, because with my 8th grade AAU team, when we scrimmage, I say we're playing all ones. So it's not like you can take a 3, that's fine, but make it worth it. And I also have a saying, look, we can take 45 threes, I have no problem, but all those threes better be curated. I don't need you coming down, pulling up from 3. I need someone to drive.
Well, not everybody should shoot a 3. Not everybody can make a
Right.
3. Not everybody.
Exactly.
And I mean, I should tell my teams all the time, would you rather have 2 points or 0? Because if we shoot 3s and we're missing them, we got 0.
Not for sure.
So, but I guess the analytics people would tell me I'm crazy and blah blah blah. Plus, I hate all the stoppage of play. They had a game the other day. It was like I turned the channel. It's like 5 minutes. Well, they're under review. Oh, shit, I ain't got time for this, man. It ain't that serious, man. Did it foul him? He didn't foul him. Come on.
Right.
Let's keep it moving. Basketball's a game of fluidity.
Right, exactly.
And you keep stopping the game, and the fluidity and the beauty of it's gone.
For sure. It's funny that you mentioned like how, back in the day, y'all used to just play, right? And you're a player who played at the Division I level. And if you say that to like a player now, they'll just be like, what? Like, no, you got to work out. You got to take, 500 threes a game. You got to learn the in and out cross behind the back. Just talk about the essence of just playing and what you can gain from just playing the game.
Well, there's when if you watch it, you say, hey, this guy don't know how to play. There's an art and a movement of knowing how to play, and you learn that by playing. You don't learn that by working out. I got guys, man, we could put them on YouTube because you jab step, boom, crossover, boom, they do all that shit great. But then you put 9 other people on the court who can't do a damn thing. So you got to learn how do you incorporate what you maybe have trained with in competition. Knowing how to do it one-on-one, what good is that going to do you? So you learn that by repetition, and you learn repetition, and you learn feel. You learn how to feel a backdoor play, how to feel a back cut, how to feel all these different things by playing. You don't learn them in a gym with a trainer who's telling you, oh, you get low on your crossover, and you're doing all these different things.
I think that's very essential. Again, with my 8th grade team, I try to teach them like the basics, like teach them how to cut backdoor, having them learn how to play off of 2 feet. Just simple things like that, things that once they're out of my face and out of my team, they're not going to learn no more because they're going to end up getting trained to the stuff like that. But at least I got to put it in their bag so they get to know that, because of things like that are important. Because at the end of the day, the higher levels you go up to, if you're good at high school, you go to college, you're going to have to fit in because there's other players on that caliber. So how else are you going to get these points? Oh, cutting back door. You're not going to be the most athletic.
Or how do you get in front of a guy?
Right.
Get another one of my, how many guys, until they change the rules, I can only put 5 guys on the floor at a time. We got 12 guys here. That means 7 of you mother ain't playing. You only have 5 guys on. So how do you put yourself in the position? And just sometimes those little things are the things that get you a foot ahead of the next guy, a half step ahead of the next guy, because they don't have that in their bag.
And I remember when I called you during my AAU season, I was telling you my team was playing like a 1-3-1. I was telling you about that. And then I remember I spoke to another coach, and I was like, I want to actually teach my kids how to play man, like what it's about. And I told him I was playing the 1-3-1 and all that. and I had my own reason why I was teaching 1-3-1, whatever. He was like, the first thing, since they're 8th grade, they're young, don't teach them how to be passive on defense. Teach them how to be assertive on defense. So I started, well, this upcoming season, I'm gonna start, we're gonna do man-to-man, and I'm gonna teach them how to press up, just so they can learn how to be aggressive. Because I feel like kids nowadays are too passive on defense. They'll let someone do a move and then they'll let them go by and do a back tap. Like, no, like you got to learn how to stay in
Well,
front of
I don't
somebody.
know about passivity,
No.
but at that age, you're teaching the game.
Right.
And so man to man, if you at some point you're gonna play man to man, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the game. So you're teaching them. Like, I would not allow anybody to play zone until they got to high school. If I was running the thing, because these you from when you start, whether you're 8, 9, 10, however old you are, to your 14, 15 years old, you got to learn how to play man. You got to learn where to be the help line is. You got to learn how to rotate. You got to learn how to keep the ball in front of you without fouling. Learn how to not reach. Learn how to move your feet. Learn how to take away a backdoor cut. But if somebody's teaching you zone, and you from a young age on, and you're not learning that, again, as you move up in competition, you're going to be left behind, because you're not going to know how to be a team defender.
And that's one thing I realized that was a fault on mine, because I was like, all right, what is my purpose of coaching these 8th graders? And I was like, I'm not in the business of winning games. Not like I can get fired. Like, like that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in it to develop them, and for them, after a few years or a year, or after they graduate high school, to be like, I learned that from, Coach Morris. That's what I learned. So I realized, like, oh, that's what I'm in the business for. I'm in the business of actually developing the talent and have them understand the game. It's not about play 1-3-1, so they can't do this, that, and the third, and it's a zone that not a lot of people see. No, it's not about that. You have to teach them how to play the game. If you teach them how to play the game, and they play harder than the next team and make a few more buckets, they can win.
Well, that's one of the problems with youth basketball, youth coaches, is that they're in it to win.
Right.
And they're not in it to teach. So you sacrifice, when you do that, you sacrifice teaching for winning. And unfortunately, guys want to, so in my opinion, the kids suffer because these guys are not teaching them how to play the game. They're trying to figure out how to win the game.
Right.
Winning's down the road, man. I mean, what's that expression? You never lose. You either win or you learn.
Right. You said you're now training your 8-year-old nephew. What are some of the basics you're teaching him now? What's something good to teach?
To be honest with you, he's got a father that's into all this, teaching him his technique. And I said to his mother the other day, I want him to get to joy. I mean, if there's no joy, if we're out on the court and he's not having fun at 8 years old, then shit, he needs to be doing something else. And so I just try to play games. And hey, we played horse the other day. I beat him, but we played, just to try trick shots. Let's find the fun in the game. You got enough time to be serious about all this other stuff. You're 8 years old, man. And so I'm just working on them, trying to have a good time.
Right.
I mean, he can handle the ball, he can shoot the ball, but like he missed his shot and make a face. What are you making a face for, man?
Part of the game.
Yeah. And when you miss it and you miss a shot, that shot, you can't do nothing about that, can you? But you can do something about your next shot. You can prepare. But you can't do anything about the shot you just missed. It's gone. So you got to forget about it. Boom, it's gone.
Right.
And so working on more of the mental approach to what we do and not the result. Don't be result oriented at this stage of your life.
Not for sure. That's great. um, I want you to end us off with, I know you're a deep guy. You do poetry. You're a great, you're an avid reader. End us off with like a quote or something or anything like that. I would just summarize either anything about you or what you talked about, what we talked about, coaching in general, anything.
Well, I don't know. You put me on the spot. I don't even know what to
I
tell you,
know,
but I'm going to tell you
you're the
something
poet.
that I would have tell my 8-year-old nephew when I was around his age, or actually I was a little bit older. We were playing in a summer league, and my team lost, and I was crying my eyes out. And I had an older brother who was a good player, and he saw me crying. He came over. What's wrong? Hey, we lost the game. We lost the championship. He said, hold on. He said, let me ask you a question. Did you do the best you could? I said, yes, I tried my best. And he said, then stop. There's nothing more you could do, man. He said, hello? He
Yeah.
said, my phone's about to die. He
It's
said,
all right.
listen, if you'd have told me that you didn't try your best, I'd be all over your butt. But you did the best you could, man. And some days your best isn't good enough. Sometimes somebody else's best is. So that led me later on to write a poem called Do the Best You Can. I never said it would be easy, but do the best you can. They're words that sparkle in my mind, said to me by a friend who understands that giving something every chance to grow is all you can really do. That's why I always try my best. I hope for you that's nothing new. Just do the best you can.
I appreciate you watching that episode of Hoops and Holla, and I hope you enjoyed it and got better as a coach. If you want to continue to grow as a coach, check out our next episodes we have coming up next.
And your words are very powerful. And so you have to use your words wisely. Your words are very powerful. And so you have to be cautious in the way you use them. And like making excuses, that could become a repetitive thing and you just continue to do it. Now saying no excuse produce, like no excuses, I'm going to produce. I'm going to make it happen.